let's get started.
All right, Jason. Who has influenced you the most in your adventure racing career and why?
In my adventure racing career, I've had tons of influences, but probably the most influential has been my twin brother. We kind of both got into the sport together as a way of seeing if we could kind of push ourselves, and we'd seen an eco challenge on TV, and my dad said, you guys could do that, and eventually 10 years later we did, and I get really excited to race with him. It's really just an extension of us seeing how far we can go in the outdoors and continuing to play together, even now that we're adults.
Great. Who do you think you have influenced the most and why?
I'm pretty sure I've influenced a fair amount of people in the sport of adventure racing and expeditions and lots of other stuff, but probably the single most influence I've had is on my teammate Daniel Stodigal. He was 17 when I formed a youth adventure racing team in San Diego, and he was one of the kids that got really excited by it and has kind of continued, gone on some harebrained 10, 12, 21-day expeditions with us in the middle of nowhere. His parents let him do it with us even before he was 18. I guess we'd built up a lot of trust, and now he races professionally on our team, and he's one of the top 10 racers probably in the world right now. He's 23 or 24 years old.
Awesome. Being a multi-athlete outdoor enthusiast, what has been the most challenging part of your journey? Did anyone like a mentor, parent, etc. help you through the transition?
So I think the most challenging part of my journey has simply been letting go of the idea that I had to be the best at everything. When the sport incorporates mountain biking and paddling and trail running and trekking and climbing, and I wanted to be at some point the best at everything. And my background is a professional competitive climber, and so I was always pushing to get to that ceiling. And then once I got into multi-sport, it became impossible. So if I go out to these 24-hour races, mountain bike only races, I have to let go of the idea that if I want to train enough to win those, right, then I'm losing my paddling skill, I'm losing my climbing skill, I'm losing my running. So it was just letting go of that idea that I had to be the best at everything. I just had to be really good at everything. And the person that kind of showed me that the most was my wife, who also races with me. And the way she showed it to me was she came in and she felt that even more than I ever did. Like, she had to be the best at every individual thing. And so seeing that and training with it and being like, dude, there's no way, like, that just can't happen. It helped me kind of turn into her coach on that aspect. And then, when you're coaching something or teaching something, if you don't embody it, it doesn't come through. So it really helped me start to calm down my own energy in that regards.
Good. What is the one life lesson you hope that Emma will gain from being an adventure racer?
Ooh, one life lesson. Okay, I might have to do two, but I'll start with the biggest one would be that you get to choose. As a life lesson, you get to choose what you consider suffering. And that's what adventure racing in the outdoors shows me over and over, and I hope to be able to give that to Emma. And by that I mean that if you're out there feeling miserable, or you're carrying a kayak on your head on a 2-mile portage, or you have blisters all over your feet and you've still got 40 miles to trek across the desert, if you think, I don't want to be here, I want to be like I was when I was back in the hotel room or sitting in my parents' couch watching TV, of course you're going to be miserable. But if you actually put yourself in that position, like, this is where I am now. This is what it feels like. This is the sensation in my feet when I take every step. This is the pain in my shoulders and back when I'm carrying this canoe on my head. And just let it be sensation. That is a lesson that goes so far in every aspect of life, relationships, communication, love. Just where you are is where you need to be, and you can make the best of it. That doesn't mean you can't be looking forward to getting out of it or to changing it, but you have to be willing to do the distance wherever you are to get somewhere else. Yeah, I guess we'll stick with one. That's good.
That was good. Okay. Please say your contact information clearly.
Okay.
Name?
I got it.
Okay.
My name is Jason Magness. My phone number is 928-814-6375. I live in Bend, Oregon, zip code 97702. And
age.
Oh, my age. Really quick, my address, 61445 Barleycorn Lane, Bend, Oregon. And my age is 35. And email YogaSlackers, Y-O-G-A, well, just right there. YogaSlackers at gmail.com.
Cool. Okay. How did you get started?
I was a competitive climber before I got into adventure racing. And what got me into adventure racing is watching an early eco challenge on TV and seeing all these people, doing amazing things, but also a lot of people whining, like in the outdoors, like, oh, we can't do that, or our mountain bike broke, and then pulling out the sat phone and getting rescued and complaining about how hard the race was. And in my background as a mountaineer, alpine climber, that was never an option. Like when stuff broke, you just deal with it. And so my twin brother and I were watching this saying, this looks not that hard. It looks really, really fun, but it looks like something that we could do really well at. And 10 years later, that idea kind of stuck with us, and we had stopped climbing for a little while. He was getting married. I was getting really into triathlons and trying to do that professionally, and I got bored. I did an Olympic distance triathlon, and then I wanted to do a half Ironman, and then after half Ironman I wanted to do an Ironman, and after the Ironman I ended up doing one of the first and only off-road distance Ironmans, like 112 miles of mountain biking and a mountain marathon, like running up and down ski hills. It was horrible, but after that I was like, well, what else is there? I can go backwards and do more of the same, and I found an adventure race and did one and got hooked, and now it's just been going further and further.
Cool. What is your background and skill set for being an adventure racer and outdoors enthusiast?
This is what I do. I don't have a job per se, like a desk job or anything like that. So I play. From climbing to mountain biking to paddling. I spent, getting out of climbing. I decided to get into paddling and jumped in with both feet and almost killed myself paddling a plastic canoe to Catalina Island, which is like 26 miles of open ocean. And the skill set that I developed was just the idea of being self-reliant in the outdoors. I think that's the biggest single skill. And then everything, whether it's something you're really good at, for me, mountain biking and climbing, or something I'm not so good at, but paddling for a while was like that. But just being able to get through it by myself or with my team and know that, I have to get out of it myself.
Cool. Okay. Sorry. What are the top 3 to 5 highlights of your career?
Top 3 to 5 highlights. Tons. Are you kidding me? It's like my whole life is basically a highlight. Professionally, got second place in the Wenger Patagonian Expedition Race, one of the hardest and wildest races down at the tip of South America. That was just this year. Completed an expedition snow kiting across North Dakota, of all things, to promote wind energy. There's just, like, I could send you my whole curriculum vitae for professional racing, but it's as much as racing as it is living the lifestyle, like dropping out of mainstream society and creating a small business that is built on yoga, on slacklining, on acrobatics, on professional racing, and just exploring and unleashing this human potential that so few people actually ever tap into. So if you're really interested in highlights, I'll send you something, or check out YogaSlackers.com Facebook page or YouTube page. There's 150 videos of exploits and wins and crazy first expeditions, first ascents, first descents, you name it. I've been doing this for a long time. So.
Cool. What are some of the big name players you've run, swam, or cycled with or against?
Me. I've cycled against myself and my twin brother as far as big name players. Other people that I've raced against that are kind of huge in the outdoor or adventure racing community are the New Zealanders. Those damn Kiwis are so fast. Nathan Favre, Richard Usher and his wife Alina, they're always big players in the big international races. Marcel Hagner. Most people in the U.S. haven't heard of them because they don't come to the U.S. because there's not a lot of prize money. They stay in the big races, and they're killer fast. In the U.S., Paul and Karen Romero, amazing racers of Team Soul. Roman Dial, one of my childhood idols from Alaska. He was a big-time climber, then got into the sport of adventure racing, and now does crazy pack rafting stuff. So we connect a lot on that because we do a lot of pack rafting expeditions as well. So and then to be honest, like in the last 2 years, our team has gotten there. So now people are coming to race and saying, "Oh my God, there's Team YogaSlackers." So that's pretty fun for us.
Cool. What outdoor adventure would you say is your expertise, your weakest?
My strongest discipline, I guess, is still climbing. I'm so comfortable in the vertical realm. Case in point, in this last race in Patagonia, we were trailing the world championship team that thought they had it locked up, and we were gaining on them. And at one point, there was a recommended route up and around these, high mountain passes. And this is 5 days into a non-stop race, about as far from human civilization as you can get. And we looked at the map and we're like, we can climb right up over this mountain. And ended up free climbing or soloing these huge faces in our hiking boots and tiny little backpacks and gaining hours on the team just because we were comfortable. We had a team. I mean, it's not El Cap, but you're still having to climb really exposed ridge lines where if you fall, it's over, and just knowing that you're not going to fall. So, and not being scared by the exposure lets us move really fast over that terrain. As far as my weakest, I think the weakest thing for me is still paddling, but that's changing all the time. We're working with an Olympic coach now, and right now in the US, we're one of the best paddling teams out there. However, when we go internationally, we have to face the South Africans, the British, and the Kiwis, who have a much deeper paddling culture, and we can keep up for a couple hours and then they slowly pull away. So we're working on that as a team, and I'm working on that personally.
Are you certified in wilderness training, personal training, or hold any certificates related to wilderness training or adventure racing?
I am a multi, I guess, certificated person in a lot of things. I was an EMT as far as holding medical certificates. I am a certified yoga instructor, acro yoga instructor, and slackline yoga instructor, actually the founder of the slackline yoga movement. As far as other things, I own a rock climbing gym in North Dakota, and love it. And there's not really any certifications for adventure racing, but I do race professionally on a team and have for several years. So.
Great. What are 3 elements to being successful at adventure racing?
3 elements of being successful at adventure racing. The primary 3, at least for me, is number 1 is teamwork. If you're out there doing this crazy stuff, solo racers never finish the really big races because it's next to impossible. Teamwork is absolutely key. Number 2, I think, is eating and drinking. Like if you think of your body as a machine, and you've got to give it fuel, and learning how to do that, and not only learning how to do that for yourself, but learning how to pay attention to the signs with the rest of the people on your team. And the third is to remember that it's fun. We use this in acrobatics a lot. Like if we're about to do a really scary trick, or we're working on something that's really hard, a good reminder is, why are we doing this? If the answer somewhere deep, even if you're suffering and your feet are blistered and you're miserable, if really deep down the answer comes bubbling up because it's fun, then you're in the right place.
Great. What are the most challenging elements or obstacles that Emma might face in participating in this race, especially since she is a little princess?
So Emma's challenges. Emma's going to probably face a lot of challenges, but none of them are going to be insurmountable. I think her biggest challenge is going to be shifting her paradigm, realizing that anything, with hard work, with perseverance, and with getting outside of her comfort zone is possible. And Emma's going to have to really dig deep and do this, because I know she says she wants to do it, but she's going to have to find that place in reality where at some point the coach goes away, right? And there's nobody standing there pulling you along, and you've got to take those next steps. And if Emma can get into that place, then she'll finish a 6-hour, a 12-hour, a 24-hour. She'll just keep going.
Awesome. Do you currently coach anyone?
Currently, I coach people pretty much every day, not necessarily in adventure racing. I am kind of the head coach for my team. And but every day I'm coaching people in acrobatics. I'm a professional acrobatics and acro yoga teacher, as well as slacklining. And these are both so similar to adventure racing in the sense that when people first hear about it or see it, they think, oh, that's really amazing, really cool to watch, not for me. And on a daily basis, my job is to convince people and to show people and to teach people that it is totally within their scope of practice, and get them doing it and get them basically redefining their potential as human beings. So,
What would you consider your coaching style to be? Are you a drill sergeant or a big brother, sister? You can only pick one and no combinations.
my style, I'm gonna not choose either of those because that was just Big Brother and Drill Sergeant. But I am an inspirational leader as far as when I teach and when I coach, which means I'm not afraid to do everything the person's doing every step of the way, to suffer with them and to make them feel like they want to be there. And that's how I've had the most success in acrobatics, in slacklining, and in adventure race coaching. I'm going to grab my coat.
Good?
Yeah, what's next?
What are the top 2 ground rules you would put in place in order for Emma to accomplish her goal in 5 short weeks?
Top 2 ground rules for Emma to accomplish her goal in 5 weeks. One would be communication, which means that she's got to talk to me. She's got to talk to her coach about what's going on from day one, and that can be painful. That can be her being bratty, but she's got to be communicating with me so that I know how she's feeling, and I've got to be communicating with her as to what the expectations are, and how I'm feeling, and what I need her to try or to think about when she's training. And the second ground rule would be to be honest. And so those kind of tie in together. With those things, I can help create a place for her to grow. And it's going to be work, it's going to be painful. I'm not going to try to pretend to her that it's not. But it's going to be transformative. All change is painful at the beginning. And then when you come out the other side, it's just, that's why adventure racing is so amazing, because you have to hit those low points. If I went to a race and I wasn't miserable and wanted to quit half the time I was out there, when I got to the other end and was sitting around thinking back on that, it wouldn't be as powerful.
Good. What are some out-of-the-box training techniques that you might do with Emma to help her be successful in her first adventure race? Name 3 to 5 exercises.
Maybe the question should be, what are some of the traditional in-the-box training techniques I would use? But because most of my training techniques will be out of the box. The out of the box ones I can think of that I know I would do is we would incorporate yoga into the training, mainly as a way to get in touch with her breath, in touch with her body in a profound way, so that when she's out there, she has those tools to calm her mind, to stay in a place that's healthy and jubilant and happy. So yoga, definitely. Another one would be basic acrobatics. I've found this to be a really powerful technique, just in showing people what can be done. I mean, you watch Cirque du Soleil or something, and all of a sudden you think, oh, that stuff is, for people that have born Ukrainian acrobats or whatever. And if you can take a regular person and get them to experience some of that, and to realize that it's physics, and it's trust and connection and communication, and then it just opens the rest of the life up. So when it comes to adventure racing, you're like, hey, remember when you did these acrobatics that you thought were only for Chinese acrobats? Well, this kind of training is the same way. Another one would be slacklining. And so, I mean, if you turn and just look right here, this is a really extreme example of a slackline. And I'll throw in some footage that just a few minutes ago we did a little walking, and obviously we wouldn't start Emma out this long, but I've had a huge success in teaching people slacklining and just getting them into this totally, it's a really fast way to redefine in your body what is possible. It's incredible. So for sure those. And then another interesting one that I think I'd use was eating and drinking games. So for an entire day, maybe a couple times during the training, but maybe the 16 hours she was awake, she would only get to eat 100 calorie increments, and she could only eat them no more than one every 30 minutes. So she'd really have to pay attention to her body and learn to treat it like this amazing energetic machine that it is, so that she fuels it when she needs to, but in little bits. And that helps a long way, especially when you start to get to longer races or longer times in the outdoors.
Okay, so the first one is, what if Emma broke one of her rules? How would you react, and would there be consequences?
So Emma, somehow I found out that you were lying or not being truthful, and that was one of our rules. So what we're going to do now is we're going to continue on with our training, because we're way out here. We got to get back somehow, and I'm going to take us probably a different way, and I'm not going to communicate with you for a little while. I mean, we've both got to get back. I'm not going to leave you out here, but just to see what this is like. Imagine yourself, when you're with your dad and your sister leading this team, and what happens when your sister's getting tired and somebody asks you, how much further do we have to go? Right? How is it going to feel to them? Or how would it feel to you if I tell you, oh, we're almost there, we got 10 minutes left, let's pick up the pace, and then we go 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and I'm like, yeah, actually we got 6 miles left, right? So this is just an extreme example of where that communication comes in. And I'm not doing this so much to punish you at all. I mean, we're both out here, we're still in this together, but to let you experience how it feels to the other people when you're not honest, when you're not communicating. Because we want to really minimize, all the pain and all the uncomfortability for both of us. We're out here in this situation, and we got to work together. And until you learn to do that, then it's going to be tougher on both of us. So just think about that, and let's keep going, because I want to get home and eat as much as you do.
Awesome. Emma wants to become an outdoor enthusiast adventure racer.
Got it.
Because her father and sister have bonded over their time in the great outdoors. You ask Emma to navigate her family through a simple scavenger hunt in a nearby park at night, and she wants to quit because she's scared, tired, and hot. What type of advice would you give her to help her through her frustration?
Okay, Emma, so we've got a couple rules here, and I totally understand the feeling of you needing to quit. Man, I've been there so many times. So here's the deal. If you want to quit, you can quit, but there's one little caveat to that. If you want to quit, since this is a shorter thing, you can say so now, and if in 2 hours you still want to quit, we're done. We go home. Right? That's it. But if at any point during that 2 hours you think, wow, this is kind of cool again, or oh, I figured out where we were, or you have that idea of enjoying yourself again, time starts over, right? So basically, anytime you want to quit, and this will, that time period gets longer if you're doing a longer race, but when you're in that 6-hour race, and tonight, if you want to quit, I'm not going to stop you. I mean, you've got to want to be out here, but you got to want it solidly for 2 hours. Any second that goes away, we start the time over. And believe me, you're going to be out here, and you're going to finish, and you're going to go back with your mom and dad, and you're going to be so glad that you kept going. But I got it on my clock. 2 hours from now, let's keep going.
Awesome. Please share anything else about your coaching style, background, or personality that I did not ask earlier.
Well, there's a ton that I could add, but basically this is, my coaching style and background. It all kind of comes together. It's my whole goal, and I didn't even really think about this from the beginning, but it's to do more and more and more of what I love in the outdoors, which is becoming so expansive, and it's just not becoming more dangerous all the time, although yes, sometimes it is, but just seeing what's possible. And to do that, I've found great joy in bringing partners from all walks of life into this, getting people into it, getting yoga students into adventure racing, getting adventure racers into yoga or acrobatics, and constantly finding ways to draw people in. And partly because of my yoga background is I truly believe that force is not the way. Force is great. Like if we're doing a conditioning thing and I'm yelling at people to do more reps, 5 more reps, 10 more reps, keep it going, don't stop, whatever you do, don't quit. I mean, that kind of thing can be really powerful because they want to be there. They want to hear that. And then they feed off that energy. It's going from fear, my 20 years of yoga experience just like, it just kind of cringes at that, because that's not building the idea, and the energy that we want. I think the last thing that I want to end with is just something that I kind of keep in my coaching philosophy, my racing philosophy, life philosophy, is one of the great yogis a long time ago, or in the 70s, so not that long ago, but came over to the States and traveled, Swami Rama, and traveled around the hospitals and talked to probably 8,000 or 9,000 people within 2 weeks of their death. And he asked them a whole bunch of questions about life and what they wish they had done, what they wish they hadn't done. And it's pretty remarkable to me that not a single person who was within 2 weeks of their death said anything like, I wished I had worked more, I wish I had been comfortable more, I wish I had made more money. Right? There wasn't a single one of them. And every single one of them had some variation of wishing that they had loved more, that they had been loved more, and that they had followed their desires and experienced whatever they could in life. So when I heard that, and when I read these repeated responses to this over and over in document, it was a profound shift. And so here I am, kind of spent 7 years living in a car and being a bum and loving every minute of it. And so hopefully I can help Emma find some of that same joy. And that's it. It's cold. Let's go inside.
Okay.